Welcome to Thursday Thunderdome, where once a week we take a topic and we throw it around and see what we can figure out about it. This week on Thursday Thunderdome, we're going to be talking about college. With
really
me,
mad
as
at you.
always, is my co-host Tyler.
I'm really mad at you. This voice is NPR voice. You're like the NPR guy from Parks and Rec.
Welcome to Thoughts on Thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so college.
College.
I'll get college educated degrees. I can't even say that. My degree's fake.
Well, I got a college education.
I did too, sort of.
How many years it took me on one hand?
Yep, same. Took me 5 years. I did the old victory lap, as I like to call it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, a half of it.
I did the full thing. I failed my junior year. It wasn't because I was extra smart and needed extra college. It was because I met my wife and turned 21 the same year and had a really fun year. Oh, it was a blast.
Yeah, you had a great time.
Yeah. I've consumed more alcohol in that year probably than I have in my entire life.
So in that 1 year, you consumed more alcohol than you've consumed since then.
I could probably make the argument for that.
Yeah?
I would assume so.
I've also heard a stat, not too unrelated from this same type of concept, that your first year of marriage, you'll have more sex than the rest of your years combined.
I can see that, or like depending on like what era they're talking about, like either like the first time like you get with your like long-term partner versus the first year of marriage. Like I could see that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And I'm determined to put that theory to the test, right? But I failed miserably because what you're supposed to do is every time you have sex when your first year in marriage, you put like a penny in a jar, right? And then every time you have sex afterwards, you take the penny out and see if you can get all the pennies out of the jar.
Weird. I don't like this. I am really, really excited for your wife to listen to this and then for her to comment on Thursday.
Oh, man.
It's going to be good. I'm very excited.
See, and the thing is I honestly, truly don't believe that stat. I don't believe that that's true. I believe that if you have a healthy marriage and you have a healthy relationship, you're going to have sex.
Yeah, I'm sure like it all depends. What the fuck are we talking about?
College.
Like, yeah, we're in college as we go on like sex and marriage.
Well, I mean, it's all relative, right?
I guess.
Related? See,
relative I don't think is the right.
The college education that I've got must not be that great.
That Texas degree, not working well for you right now.
Now, be careful. You might offend some people in Texas when you say that Texas degree. Because of the University of Texas. So people go, where'd you go to school?
UTI.
Texas.
It's all the same. Who cares?
Okay. Look here, Mr. Boilermaker.
This is a 5-minute podcast.
Okay, so in all seriousness, there's a few things we want to talk about. The first being student loans.
Yes, our favorite.
So do you still have student loans?
Fortunately, no. I paid them off last year. So it took me... What year is it? It's 2019.
2019.
It took me about 7 years to pay it all off.
That's not bad. There's a lot of people who go 20.
Yeah, and I was like aggressively paying it off.
Yeah.
I was paying up to like $1,000 a month, trying to make sure. And that was like obviously it wasn't a grand every time, but it was like if I needed to cut something out, I could do that. But I was trying to hit that to like just pay it down. But like my wife and I didn't really go on vacations. Like we're not having a kid until now, so like I didn't have any of like those expenses to deal with, and just us being fortunate. Like my wife didn't have any student loans. Like if she had student loans,
probably still be chipping away at
we would both still be paying for sure. But like we were just fortunate. Like she was fortunate enough not to have them, and just like circumstances warranted well for us that we could do that. And again, like I said, like, we didn't take vacations. We didn't do anything crazy. Like
you just worked on getting your financial scene in order.
Yeah, and felt very good to finally get all this paid off because I ended Purdue with $60,000.
Damn.
And again, like the last 2 years of college. So the first 3 years, I basically got no financial aid, which is weird because my father died when I was 13, and my mom had like a low-paying job, but we didn't understand how all that worked. And the Social Security we got from my father passing away was like. My brother and I each got $2,000 a month until we were 18, I think. Mm-hmm. So that inflated my mom's salary by like $50,000 or whatever.
Sure. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So it looked like we were like way better. And if she maybe was making 30, like on a good year probably.
So did you turn 18 during your senior year of high school?
Yes.
So
going into Purdue, our financials said we were still getting all
so
that
then
money.
the next year, you might have been able to get
Still
some
didn't
aid.
because my brother was still getting money. So
okay.
so that was still inflated.
Because he's a couple years younger than you.
Yeah, he's 3 years younger than me.
Okay.
So when I went into junior year, my brother joined college, and then college was like fucking free for me. At
He
that
joined
point.
it. He just
Maybe it was my first senior year. My first senior year, because he was a freshman when I was a senior in high school. Yeah, so my first senior year was like fucking free cash money. They're like, I didn't like gain anything, but I broke even. Like basically most things were covered, and I took
Right.
out loans to pay for like rent and shit like that. But it wasn't like the 20 grand it was to live in the dorms, which I lived in for 3 years. So I paid full price for 3 years in the dorms, which is much more expensive. Than
I did the
apartment.
dorms for a year and a half. And that's all I did. Now, I was fortunate enough to where my parents saved up, had an account, and paid for my school.
Right.
And my grandmother had set up some accounts. Well, at least that's what I thought. So what ended up happening is I think they ended up using that money for other things and then just paid for my college out of pocket as I went along. Which, hey, either way, it worked out for me.
Did you end with no student loan?
I ended with no student loans.
That's awesome.
So it was great, So when I came out, I got a job and I didn't have that over my head. But then I decided, you know what, I want to go back to school because I wanted to be a teacher, and that was all on my own dime. And I did not make enough. So what I did is I quit my job with a financial company as a retirement specialist, 401k specialist, and went back to driving school buses full time, which only makes $13 an hour, which when you're a college kid and your parents are paying for school, that's great money.
Especially back then in mid 2000s probably?
Yeah, you're talking, this is probably 06, 07
Yeah, that's
when
like
I'm doing this.
solid for I need a job.
Right. It was good. It was enough for me to continue to pay my rent and to meet most of my bills and obligations outside of paying for tuition.
Right.
Like I could have lived off of being a school bus driver for several years, no problem. Now, I did get some student loans. I didn't qualify for any kind of federal financial aid, where they were just going to give me money and I wouldn't have to pay it back or any kind of thing because I'd made too much, the year before, right? For everything.
Yep.
So, and I was only going to be in college for a year because of what I was doing. So I took a couple of classes real quick and then I got a job teaching and I took my education classes while I was teaching.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, so because the country's in desperate need for teachers. So
Right.
they've allowed these programs to exist where you don't have to go to a university to become a teacher. You could just be a Joe Schmo off the street who's got a degree in something, and you can sign up with these post-baccalaureate programs where it's really just teacher certification. And there's people who just run businesses, kind of like a trade school almost for teachers, as long as you've got a bachelor's degree.
Right. And then it's like you having that paid off and me and like my wife not having any and like me eventually being able to pay off our student loans as well. Like that is such an advantage, like an incredible advantage to have just in life, just to be not tied down by this like huge debt looming over your head. Like we've talked about it like with like us and a couple of our friends. Like I know one of my friends has like this crazy high interest rate. Like it's like around like 10% or something insane.
Jeez.
And then and his wife is a lawyer, and so she has all those like crazy student loans too. And it's just insane, like the financial impact that takes, and it's like amazing. Anybody can buy a house at this point with that kind of stuff around. And then that's why like millennials can't buy houses. Like it's too expensive for them to do it. But for them to make the money they need to go to college. But to do that, they typically have to take student loans in this weird like vicious cycle of to get money, I need to like steal money from loans.
I need to spend
and
money to make money.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like the whole thing with credit. Like you don't get credit until you have credit. Well, how do you get credit? We got to get credit.
Right.
Well, no, but that doesn't work. It makes my brain hurt. Like, and my wife, like she went back to school to get her master's, and we've paid that off as well. And that was not that long ago. She's only had her master's for maybe 6 years. So we've been fortunate to where we've been able to accelerate those payments and get some things paid off, and not everybody's like that. Not everybody gets the good job or has worked their way into a good job, because
Right.
my wife and I are cuspers, if you will, as far as the generation goes. Like we're on the cusp of being, like
You're like,
Gen X and
yeah,
millennial.
your age, you're like the like start of millennial almost. Like
Right.
you're like this weird like
It,
probably go
it kind of depends on who you talk to on when the millennials started, because
I've always like recently I thought it was a little younger, but like I've heard like 38 is like the start of the millennial, and then like because there's like two sections of millennials, like the older millennials, which like you and I would fall into, and then like a bit younger than us.
right. And I think that's a disservice for millennials, like true actual millennials who grew up completely on technology, which is
Right.
what that is, right? Well, I didn't grow up completely on technology.
Right.
Sure, yeah, I had a Nintendo, in my room, and I had a TV, but
We had dial up until I was in college. That was
Yeah.
2006.
I was gonna say,
I
yeah,
had
we-
dial up.
when I didn't know what non-dial-up was until I went to college.
Yeah.
And then I get to the dorm room and I hear this magic called a T1 line.
And you're like in the fucking future.
And I'm like,
it's so
holy
crazy. You didn't know internet could go this fast.
No, it was blazing fast.
But just the increase, like year over year, of what student loans is happening is, I'm trying to read like something right now. Is like what the outstanding student debt as of this is as of 2 years ago is 1.4 trillion with a T.
I'm sorry,
1.4 trillion.
trillion.
Yes, that is as of August 2017. So I don't even have like an up to date fucking article, and that's what it's already looking at. But I think it said it was like increase in like the last decade over 150% for student loans.
That is incredible.
Yeah, that's bananas. And students like they'll go to school and they'll drop out. And like the other stat I was reading earlier was 40% of people drop out of school before they finish their 4-year degree. So not only do they get their degree, but they're I don't know, like based off me, let's say they get $60,000. That's I don't know, $20,000 to $30,000 in debt for nothing essentially.
I just want to point out 40% is 40 out of 100.
Thank you, Math Wizard. Again, Texas Degrees helping us out today.
Hey man, I went to college. I can do math.
I'm really bad at math, so it's all right. And then even, I don't know, degrees are such like a weird thing. Like, has your degree really helped you? I mean, yes, you're a teacher, and
So my degree is in business management, and I would say no, it really has not helped me. I mean, I think there's some good theories. Like I took some leadership classes. I know how to use PowerPoint. I learned some basic stats and accounting principles. But in my experience, and I've been through a lot of different jobs, there's a thing called on-the-job training.
right.
I currently am a trainer in my current role where I work. Now, they do have a requirement to have a degree to be in management where I am.
Yeah, because
And to continue to move up, you have to have core business classes. So where I work, there is this requirement. So it's helped me in that sense, because there's people I know who are now having to go back and take, like they have an art degree or whatever.
yeah, you had
And so
brought
they're
this up
having to
in
take
another
business
episode,
classes.
and it was like, I think somebody maybe in your training class or you've seen them in a training classes. They have the same, if not more, experience than you, but they can't move up because they don't have the degree.
Right.
So like you have like
people
this
who-
weird advantage just because you have a degree, even though they like arguably are a better fit for the position because they've had the experience and stuff like that.
Sure. I mean, yeah, absolutely. That happens because people come in, they're looking for a career change. And so they quit their job and they come over. And the way it works is you start at the bottom and you got to work your way up. It doesn't matter what kind of experience you have.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you ran your own store, if you've got loads of experience in the same industry or whatever the case may be. If you don't have the degree and you don't come in through the program I went through, then it takes a while for you to move up, and that discourages a lot of people. People who are talented and smart and have the ability to move into management, but this whole you have to have a degree hamstrings them.
Well,
and it's
fuck.
kind of old school thinking. Like
Yeah, like
it frustrates me.
with the recent the Fuller House lady and the other lady that like bought their kids.
Aunt Becky.
Yeah, I don't watch any other shows.
I don't know her real name.
I don't know.
Felicity Huffman's the other one. Though.
Okay, but like they bought their kid into school like to be rich white people, and it's just like you guys spent so much money on that. There were like kids that needed that slot to get into that school, and they could have just done that. And one of my favorite tweets is like, why not you just donate that money still to the school? Your kid gets to get in, but you get like 2 other kids in for free. Like, you're still paying like the same amount.
Right.
Like, sure, your dumb rich white kid can go to school, but like these other 2 people that actually need it can get into whatever school
Right.
it is.
Start a scholarship. Okay, so you start a scholarship for other kids to go to school, and then we'll let your kid in, even though we know they're a dumbass.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like,
know.
they've been doing it for years anyways. It's like, this one, they were like literally bribing people when all they had to do was donate to a building and put their name
Right.
on it. Then they have to let their
I mean,
kids
do
in.
it the old-fashioned way, like the Bushes did.
Yeah. Just pay for something there. And they're like, well, I guess the kids should get in. And it's like, okay. Like, it's like really the legal way to do it.
Right.
Which is a weird loophole.
So, and that this whole thing floors me about the college scandal. So, what they were doing, if you don't know, is taking the tennis coach or the crew coach, which is rowing or whatever, and then they were getting $100,000 in bribes to say that they were recruiting this student. And then if you're recruiting a student and they're going to be a student athlete, the criteria to get in is easier.
Right. But they also,
lessen
they
it.
weren't on the row crew.
They didn't actually row.
They were never even on the team.
No.
But they had it like doctored to look like that. But they were also paying proctors. They were like giving like extra time for like somebody with like a learning disability. But then the proctors would go back and change their answers and correct them. To get all their tests.
Or they just pay somebody to go and take the test for them.
Right.
Which I think if I read it correctly, was to have somebody go and take the test for you. They say, what score do you want? I'm going to go get you that score, essentially, $50,000.
Fuck, I wish I was that smart. That's awesome.
Right? To go, yeah, I know what I need to do to get,
To like know what grade you're gonna get, like that's
Right.
fucking cool. Mine
Yeah.
is just like I just need a C and I'll be okay.
I'm sitting over here, fingers crossed. Come on, make my name spelled correctly.
Yeah, I mean I didn't study or anything, so it's obviously on me, but still. But it's just like it's like the weird idea, like is college worth it? Like what was college worth it for you?
So
Let's do 2 different ways.
I was gonna
College
say-
worth it overall, just like your experiences, what you got out of it,
Yes.
things like that.
I was going to
Versus
say it's a
your
loaded
job.
question.
Right.
Does it help me in my career? I think, as I mentioned a minute ago, in my current position, yes, because I don't now have to take any additional classes, right? I've got the degree, I've got the classes they're looking for, and I don't have to do anything else. In my past jobs, outside of teaching, they didn't do a damn thing for me because it was all on-the-job training. Like when I showed up at Fidelity and Ameritrade, when I was in financial advising, they take you through all of the, material you need to do to be a financial advisor. They take you through what you need to do to get licensed for your Series 6 and 7, 66 and 7. Like they do all of that on site. They pay for it. It's expensive to hire people and to train them, and college does not prepare people to just walk straight into a job and start doing the job in most cases. Unless you're very specialized in college, like an accountant or a teacher, or a doctor. But like if you're going for generic business, it doesn't do anything for you. You should honestly just skip college, go work at a company as an 18-year-old, and then work your way up. There's a guy actually, with me right now. He's 24. He started at the company that I'm at 18 and is at the same pay grade and pay that I'm at 24, and is only going to school because it's a requirement of where we work.
Right.
But he's clearly shown that he can do the job without the degree.
Yeah, and it's like, yes, college was worth it for me. It's where I met my wife and I met all my closest friends. So like in that sense, it was worth it for me. Like I don't know, in like job wise, it's really helped me.
Do you use your degree today?
Not really.
Like
So
honestly,
my
what's your degree in?
It's organizational leadership and supervision. So at Purdue, there's management, which is like it's more like numbers and economics and stuff like that. And then I did organizational leadership and supervision, where it's more like team based and like how to work with the team and like all like more like people skills than numbers. That's where all like the basketball players went. So I hung out with all of them. Like,
Nice.
Which again lost on me because I was friends with like
Sports ball.
yeah, I was like, cool. Like, hey guys, like we're all in the class together. And that had like a minor in communications as well. Communications is what I failed out of junior year because I took too much fun.
Took too much fun.
Took too much fun. But it's like, it only helps me in interviews when they're like, oh, you went to Purdue? I'm like, yes, I did. And it's like half the time they went to Purdue too, because we live in Indianapolis. And they're like, what about this? And it's like, cool. Never use that degree when I'm on the job. Learn everything there. Like, I was Walgreens as assistant manager. I think technically my Purdue degree got me there, but I could have done that without that degree. And then I worked in a call center for a couple of years, and then it was all kind of like more circumstance. Like, and then my other 2 jobs after that were basically through my wife. And then the one I currently have was like the one I probably truly found of like, this is me. Like, I did it, and it wasn't my degree.
So you bring up an interesting point. One of the things that was always told to me growing up is, well, you need to go to a good school so that way you can actually get a good job.
Yep.
So go to a good school so people recognize on your resume that you went to Texas A&M, you went to the University of Texas, you went to Oklahoma University, the
Sooners.
University of Oklahoma, like OU, right? I went to the University of North Texas. Not a garbage school. It's got one of the top enrollments in the state. It's a top research university. There's a lot going for it. It's a great university. However, when people read the name UNT, it doesn't spark, oh my God, this guy actually
it's
is
not the
smart,
same
intelligent.
as like Purdue. Literally, it's like people are like, oh, you went to Purdue? I'm like, yeah. Like, I didn't do shit at Purdue. And people are like, oh, are you an engineer? I was like, I fucking wish I was smart enough to be an engineer. I'd be making way more money right now. But
right?
But like schools definitely hold like a certain way. Even like, again, like public schools like Purdue, like they hold like a very certain like prestige around them. And then of course when you go to like Yale and Harvard and all that, like they all hold titles, and really like your degree, unless you're a very technical degree, again, like engineering or like medical or like whatever it may be, you'll get a little more. But like just holding the name of whatever school it is on your title. And then weirdly enough, my title is Bachelor of Science. So I'm not a Bachelor of Arts, I'm a Bachelor of Science, which makes my degree look even better, even though I struggled real hard with math and all the science classes that are really, really hard for me. I did not do well in those.
No, I mean,
them a couple
same.
times.
I've always been better at history and English. You know, I've gotten better at math and statistics as I've moved along because I have to be, you know, in my current role. But I think it's been more on the job, you know, experience and interaction with those things that has actually made me more of a math person, more of a statistics person, and the fact that I love stats and numbers now. Part of that's because I like sports and I follow that, and there's a lot of stats and numbers with sports. They're kind of cool to follow, but I did not like them when I was in college. I hated it. Those were my worst classes, you know, but you do them and you take them because you have to get your degree, you know? And I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs, and he didn't go to college. Now, he's a genius, and I'm not trying to say that he should have gone to college to do what he did or anything like that, but he did actually go to school for a little while. He went to, I think it was Reed University.
Sure, I have no idea.
Or Reed College.
I can care so little about this man.
And he, you know, essentially did what you did your junior year, just his first year. You kind of failed out, but not because he was having too much fun.
It's because he built Alpine in a garage. I drank myself to death.
No, he actually just was like, I'm bored with these classes. I'm bored with this major. I'd rather go take calligraphy. I'd rather go take this design class. And he would, instead of signing up for it, would just go audit the class and just take it. And that's where he got a lot of his ideas for fonts and design and things that he ended up bringing to a personal computer because he did that. Right. And then he gets with Wozniak, and they start Apple in their garage, and you know, you there wouldn't be Google or Android, you know, your love affair without him. So
I'm not arguing that. I just think he sucks as a person. But
I mean, he was kind of a douche.
Yeah. Then he only ate fruit.
He should have taken your leadership and organizational skill classes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually did enjoy those classes, but it's like, and now that I'm older and just think about like where I'm at in my career, it's more of like I don't really like anything that I do, and there's nothing that I want to do. Like there's not like a job I'm going to go love, and even if I were to like go run a comic book store, would I love that? I don't actually know. Like I love comic books and the hobby, and like even if it made enough money to do it.
I was about to say, it's your hobby. Are you going to love actually running a shop and selling comics to people, or do you like collecting them and reading them?
I mean, I like going to the comic store and like talking to people there, and like I do that a lot. But the idea, like, it'd have to be on like the weirdest terms of like, I don't want to work 12 hours a day. I want to make a decent wage. I want to be at home with my family. You can't really do that in a comic book store because
No.
none of those work, or like really any kind of small business
Well, you can't
like that.
so. What outside of running a comic book store? What would you like to do?
Oh, I don't want a job. I want to be a stay-at-home dad. Like, there is nothing more that would make me happy than like raising my kid, like cleaning my house, like having dinner ready for my family when they're home. Like, that is amazing to me. That's what I
Mr.
want
Mom.
to do. Yeah, fuck yeah. No, Mr. Dad. Like, dads can do that shit too, Chris. Welcome to fucking 2019.
But I got
despite
you
what
to agree
Trump
to it
says.
immediately.
Yeah. But that's what I would love to do. But for us to financially do that, my wife would need to like not quite triple her salary.
Close to it, yeah.
Yeah, double
Yeah.
at least.
Right.
And maybe a little more just to make me comfortable.
Right. So, I mean, I asked that question because there's a lot of kids out there. So when I was a teacher, there was kids who were not designed to go to college yet.
Right.
As a society and as public schools, we and counselors and principals and teachers, we push kids towards college.
Yeah.
But there's kids who aren't designed for that.
And like in all honesty, I probably wasn't either. But like my mom like instilled in me for my whole life, like
same.
you were going to go to college. I probably should have gone to a trade school.
That's where I'm at now and what I like to do and what brings me joy and fulfillment. Not that I dislike my job, but I would find more enjoyment in building things, woodworking. Like if I'd gone to trade school and become a carpenter.
Yeah, that shit's cool. Like I would have loved to like learn those skills. Like my dad learned all that, and then obviously he had passed away, so like I wasn't able to learn that either, and I didn't really care at the time. But like learning like those kind of skills or like being an electrician, like so not only do you get paid pretty well for
I get a shit ton of money if you're in the right
skilled
place.
labor, and then it also like brings like a practical knowledge home. Like all my knowledge at work, like I know so much about like customer part prices and how to build parts and like all this bullshit I will never use in my real life. Like which is like I'm wasting like a whole section of my brain memorizing this bullshit that I don't need to know.
I was gonna say a lot of the things that I have and I could bring home, I can't apply at home. And a lot of the things that I like to do at home, it's difficult to translate into my current position. So
You're not gonna go bring a table saw at your cubicle?
No. I mean, I can't. I'm not building my own cubicle. But I'm not gonna lie. We've been doing a lot of renovation at our building, and I see the guys walking around doing those things, and I'm like, there's some days I wish I was just doing what you're doing, and I know I'd probably make a little bit less, but I'd make good enough.
Right.
And
but in all fairness to that, they probably see you guys like sitting down and like relax, like being on the calls or whatever. And they're just like, fuck, we wish we could sit down after like working 12 hours. So obviously each on every side. Like
the grass is always greener.
Right.
And I had a guy come through who during the winter he needed a winter job because he's a roofer by trade.
Right.
And as soon as it got warm enough, he left.
The same thing happened
and started roofing again.
Same thing happened to our plant. He's a landscaper. Like winter came, he's like, I just need to work here for like 4 or 5 months. And then as soon as he got it, I saw he pieced.
Yeah.
And then I have my cousin-in-law. He's a tile setter, and he just made journeyman last year.
Nice.
And his hourly wage is what I get like on overtime. But the flip side is he's not guaranteed work. So like he's not getting like a steady flow, but like when he does work, he's making far more than I ever will.
Well, yeah, I guess the flip side, depending on whom you work for, if you work for yourself, if you're an independent contractor, or if you're actually employed. So like electricians, plumbers, those kind of trades are usually employed by a company.
Right.
But a lot of times like a carpenter, they're an independent contractor. Construction workers, a lot of times are independent contractors. They get hired on by different companies all the time. So you don't get health benefits. You don't have a retirement account, companies not contributing to your 401k. So there's trade-offs.
Yeah. Again, like obviously we're playing like either side. And just as a side note, my cousin-in-law did our shower at our old house. Ooh, fucking so good. He's very talented. And I wish I could do that shit. I can't.
Might have to get in contact with him to do some work here one day.
Let me know. I'll hook you up. He's very reasonable. I didn't even fucking paint my son's room. My father-in-law did. I hate painting. I just let him do that. But yeah, it's just... And weirdly, people, I think, look down on trade schools and, like, trades in general.
They do.
Which is, like, a weird thing of, like, oh, I'm better than you. It's like, Now you fucking sit at a desk and like get yelled at by customers. Like
I work in Excel
yeah,
spreadsheets.
I like built this with my hands. Like that's fucking cool.
Yeah, I created this thing that contributes to people's day.
Yeah.
That helps society out.
Yeah, so I don't know how that really came about. I guess it's like the education gap and like how really just past, I don't know, probably centuries really where
Well,
that was like knowing knowledge of how to physically do something and build, fix, or create was just something that like poorer people would do. And then like the higher up people who didn't want to deal with it or didn't know how to do it would just pay for it.
so let me ask you this: you're a little younger than me, so you graduated high school when?
'06.
'06. Did you guys have shop class?
Yes. In middle school we had to take it, and then I think we had it in high school. But in high school we had like a trade class, like people like they like that built straight directly into like a trade school. So like some people would be off campus half the day like doing trade shit. So we had all that.
And that's good. There's a lot of places that don't have that. You lose shop class. Some of the first places when a school district is cutting budget, they're cutting shop class, they're cutting music, they're cutting art,
Yeah, all
and they're
that.
focusing solely on the academics. When I would probably say, and being a teacher, half of my students should not go to college. That wasn't right for them. They should learn now as a 17, 18-year-old how to work on a car, how to build something, how to become an electrician. So we need those trades to start sooner so these kids can get into these fields and start making a living.
Yeah, and like even this is a little like pseudo related. My buddy's a teacher, and he teaches Project Lead the Way, and it's basically pre-engineering. Like they go to like his classes and they build sheds and like robots and shit and like do all this like pre-engineering stuff that leads them into engineering. Like college, like I don't know if I would have taken it in high school, but I was like, fuck, I wish that was offered. Like that was a cool thing.
There's some cool things that are happening, but again,
We're not being specialized enough, really. Like it's like you just everybody's learning the same thing. It doesn't really like help you. Like it helps you generally, but like I didn't know what I wanted to do in high school or college or now. like,
no, we're still,
like,
that's
it took
why
me,
we're
like,
podcasting,
to,
because we're trying to figure this shit out.
yeah, just voicing our opinions. Like I don't know, maybe someone will fucking pick this up.
That'd be great, but I think it really depends on the district you're in. Some of the wealthier districts, they have the money for that because they have the property taxes.
Yeah.
They have enough revenue coming in. But if you go to inner city schools, I would venture to say that a lot of them do not have those programs.
No.
They don't have the shop class. That's where the bands are, band budgets are getting cut, the art budgets are getting cut. So these kids who are talented in something that is a creative art form, and I would consider trade creative in an art form, depending on what you're doing, like that's being taken away from these kids. And that to me is sad. And I think part of it is because there's this push to get kids into school because it is big business.
Yeah, because schools generate an insane amount of money and just on people.
Well, how much was the student loan again?
What, the increase or my personal?
No, the 1.4 trillion.
Oh yeah, 1.4 trillion 2 years ago.
So
That's
the
probably
amount of outstanding
only
student
gone
loan.
up. Yeah,
1.4 trillion.
yeah,
That's big business.
yeah.
Like that's more than the revenue of Apple. Like Apple's valued at $1 trillion, but that's not their revenue. Google doesn't make that revenue. But college does. The college industry does.
Yeah, and like how many people are just paying? Like, my wife and I had a friend that was only paying interest. And
Right.
I was just like
Interest-only payments.
Like that's the worst thing you could possibly do.
Right, but that's all he could afford.
I know. I
because that degree
I-
didn't get him a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 job
Yeah.
like they're promised. I had some interns that were telling me that IU was promising them $60,000 when they graduate, that their average salary was $60,000. And I'm like, there is no way.
I'm not 60 grand now. If I was at 60 grand like out of college as a stupid fucking 23-year-old, I would have blown all the money.
You'd have a lot more comics.
It's probably good I did. 60. I didn't need that money.
But that's my thing is like we're feeding false information to these students and telling them, hey, yeah, you're gonna make 60 grand coming out of school. No, you're not.
Yeah,
That's not
and
the
like
starting
it's
salary
still
for
like
entry-level
kind of the
positions?
idea, and maybe now that like our generation is having kids, and even like the generation before us, that maybe people are kind of seeing a little different of like, maybe that's not the way you need to go. And especially now there's like so many different avenues to gain money, like whether it's YouTube or like some kind of social media platform. Like it seems to be a lot easier just to like, I'm going to go start my job here now. And especially as like our generation, again, Gen X as well, of it's more of do what you want to do rather than what you have to do. If you obviously if you're afforded that capability, not everybody gets that, but if you have the means to do it, like good for you and go try. We had it was one of the summer classes. I had to take summer school too. I did
a couple summers.
Did like 2 summers of that.
I did summer school almost every year, and it still took me 4.5.
I did it like the last 2 or 3, I think, because I graduated in summer as well. I didn't even graduate in May.
December.
Oh, look at you. But anyways, like someone came in, it was like I think he's like a venture capitalist or something, or like an angel investor or something, and he's just like, you guys are 22. If you want to go start a job, just go fucking like business. Just go fucking do it. If you fail, declare bankruptcy. You're so young, it doesn't matter. Like you can like rebuild all of that. It
just seems like horrible advice.
Well, I'm just saying, like I think he was like telling people to do what they want to do, and because like the idea is like if you're 22 or 23 right out of college, your loss isn't as great as if like we have kids, we have houses, like we can't just be like, hey wives, we're gonna go create this podcast and we're gonna put everything into it and just call it a day. And like
I'm just gonna quit my job and start podcasting tomorrow, and I'm gonna have 1 million followers. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really what he was getting to. And I don't know the effects of bankruptcy. Obviously, it's not good, but
no, I mean there's something about 7 years and all that kind of stuff.
But you're like so young at that time, like. Really, that's the time to strike, and if you make it big, like great, like your risk reward is like your reward's a little higher, while your risk isn't so great as you get older and you accumulate, ideally like wealth or houses or family or like
you get assets and you can lose those assets.
Yeah. Like you lose all that in that scenario.
You know, and I mean, I guess really at the end of the day, it's not horrible advice. I hate telling anybody to just declare bankruptcy. It's not that big of a deal. When really, in reality, it is, and that's something that can really mess up future.
Yeah, I'm just saying to like us, like
Tyler,
us don't do it.
No, but I mean, if I could go back and tell, fresh out of college, wet behind the ear Chris, 22-year-old me, hey, take some risks. Don't go work at Sears.
Right.
Don't go work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Go take some risks and like move away. And try to get a job as an intern with one of these big tech companies or something. Because I was coming out of college at the right time where a lot of things were taken off. And if I had just gotten a job as an intern or entry level with Apple or Google or somebody, who knows, right?
Well, that's kind of the shitty thing about
2020,
right?
And I'm not mad at the decisions I made. I'm happy where I'm at because otherwise I wouldn't have the family I've got,
right?
Wouldn't have the friends I have. But I think that's the advice I'm going to give my kid.
Yeah.
Take the risk while you're young.
That's basically what I was saying as well. It's
just don't declare bankruptcy.
I'm just saying like if it all went bad, like you don't need to do it every time, but if you like cash in everything.
I feel like that's a lesson they're going to learn is like, well, I fucked up.
Tyler said
I'm just going to declare bankruptcy and
it's
all good.
All our friends have started declaring bankruptcy because of this podcast. I'm sorry, everybody. But yeah, just gotta do what you gotta do, and it's just the idea of what are we going to do for our kids? Like, I don't know yet. I really don't. Like, college is very built into me of, like, this is what you need to do. Obviously, I don't know if that's always the best case for everybody. And who knows, like, maybe my fucking kid's going to be a SoundCloud rapper and hit it big. Like, I don't know.
I'm thinking I'm going to allow my kid to do what he wants to do. We have already decided to start saving up money for him. Mm-hmm. And it's not, like, in a college fund that is just meant for college. It is just a savings account.
Yeah.
So that when he turns
this is your son's
18,
account of like, here's your cash, do
when he turns
please.
18, if he wants to go to trade school, he can go to trade school. If he wants to go to college, he goes to college. Ideally, I think what my wife and I would like him to do is to use it to educate himself and to better himself that way.
Just further his life, not
exactly.
blow it on blow.
But yeah, not to go start doing cocaine.
Right.
Unless
that's what you want to do.
If you want to snort it all up. don't. No,
Live your best
I would draw
truth.
the line. I don't care how old he is. I'm not letting that happen.
Well, he's only going to do it in front of you, so.
Right, as long as he shares.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and pour a little beer on it.
Yeah, so, I don't know. Push cocaine on yourself. What? Let's end. I'm sorry.
How do we get to that?
Let's pull up a review.
Yeah.
Let's talk about cocaine and go to a review.
So while you guys are getting your lines ready, so we have one here from Lecter87.
It's a special friend of ours.
We know who this is.
Yes.
This is what he said. It's obvious Chris and Charlie have been friends for a long time. It comes through in their effortless conversation and really makes the show shine. Just a few minutes in, and it feels like you've known these two for years. Ooh.
Yeah.
Tackling topics that a lot of people are passionate about, beer, politics, etc. The two hosts focus on keeping things funny, smart, and well-spoken. So
Thank
maybe
you.
we are smart.
Yeah.
The conversation never lags, and the episodes are focused without feeling like anyone is reading from a script. Ooh, we're reading one now. Great work. Can't wait for more.
Yes, well, thank you, Lecter87, and you know who you are, and we've mentioned you plenty of times on this podcast. But if you guys want to rate, review, and subscribe, go to Apple Podcasts, hit us up, give us one of those 5 stars. We can read one of your reviews on there. We started doing that just to say thank you to everybody, and we appreciate that we've had that.
We
and
love
like
the love.
downloads, and it's great. And you can also just find us on the Google Play, Spotify, all that as well. Basically, anywhere there's podcasts. Twitter, we're at Thursday T-Dome. Instagram and Facebook, we're at Thursday Thunderdome. And our email is thursdaythunderdome@gmail.com. If you want to email us, let us know what's going on. Say hi, give us comments, critiques, topics, whatever you feel like. We're happy to listen. And, of course, our favorite thank yous to our friend Sarah Lichty over at sarahlichtydesign.com, who created our logo for our podcast, as well as Chris's wife's, what is it again?
CaseyElainePhotography.com.
I thought it was Casey Elaine. I couldn't remember. CaseyElainePhotography.com. Go check her out. She does some great pictures, and she did pictures of us as well. Because we're cute. And then our intro and outro music is, of course, done by the great Jimmy Nimbus. That song is called Top Off, and you can find it at jimmynimbus.bandcamp.com, along with like Hotel Records and all those other songs he's part of. So,
There it is.
thanks, everybody. Go to college and do cocaine.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight on the Thursday Thunderdome.
Canceled.